Okay, welcome. Welcome everyone to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
So today we're really plunging into something pretty significant.
Yeah, feels like a big one.
It's a topic that, well, it's not just changing education as we know it. It's actually, I think, fundamentally reshaping how we all think about building skills, building careers, really our whole working lives, especially now with AI everywhere.
Absolutely. And this deep dive is squarely focused on that intersection, how AI is powering micro-credentials and lifelong learning.
Exactly. And like always, we've got a stack of sources provided by you, our listener, all centered around this really critical shift.
That's right. And our mission, as always, is to unpack the most important insights from this material. We'll look at the surprising facts, the practical implications,
Right.
basically give you a shortcut to understanding this whole landscape, which is, let's be honest, evolving incredibly fast.
It really is.
Yeah.
And the sources, they make it crystal clear, don't they? That the traditional path, get your degree, land a job, maybe stay there for decades, that model is just, well, it's becoming much less common.
Definitely. There's a clear move away from relying solely on that multi-year degree as the primary badge of competence.
Right. Because in today's economy, things change so quickly.
Yeah.
Technology drives so much of it. We just need ways to show what we can do that are more agile, more specific.
And verifiable. That's key. Verifiable ways to demonstrate actual abilities.
Got it. So this points towards a kind of fundamental rethink about how we learn stuff, how we prove we know it, and how we keep adapting over, a whole career.
Precisely. We're shifting, it seems, from focusing mainly on those credentials you get right at the start.
Your degree, basically.
Yeah, your degree, towards a system that's built more around continuous skill development and getting tangible proof, real proof of competence whenever you need it, wherever you are in your career.
And AI, it's not just like helping out on the sidelines here, is it? The sources suggest it's really the engine driving this whole new way of thinking.
That's a great way to put it. AI is deeply involved at pretty much every step, from, actually learning a new skill to proving you've mastered it, and then even making the connection, linking that skill to the job market.
Okay, so it's the whole pipeline.
It enables the whole pipeline.
All right, so to help us get our heads around this, we're going to tackle some key questions that came up in the material you sent us. Things like, why is this shift happening now, away from just degrees?
And what exactly is a micro-credential? We hear the term a lot.
Yeah, defining that seems crucial. Then how does AI actually help you learn the skill? Like the teaching part.
And the assessment piece. That seems really challenging for practical skills. How does AI handle verifying you can actually do something, not just know about it?
Good one. And
Yeah.
once AI does verify it, how's the actual badge or credential issued? Is it secure?
Right. And then closing a loop, how does AI connect these credentials to jobs, making that link work?
We also need to cover the benefits,
Sure.
right? For individuals trying to keep up, for employers desperate for skills.
Like for universities and colleges, too. How do they fit in or adapt?
So it can't all be positive. There must be challenges. The sources mention trust quite a bit. What's the biggest hurdle to making this whole system trustworthy?
Yeah, trust is huge. And are there risks maybe in the type of learning this encourages? Is it too narrow?
And fairness, what about equity? Access, making sure the system is integral and doesn't create new divides.
Crucial points.
And finally, we'll wrap up by asking, what's the big picture significance? What does this AI-powered shift really mean for the future of learning and work?
That's a great roadmap. Covers all the key angles from the sources.
Perfect. Let's dive right in then. First question. Why this shift away from relying solely on traditional degrees? What's pushing us towards focusing on specific, verifiable skills?
Okay, so the sources point to a few really critical factors here. The first one is thinking about what a traditional degree actually signifies. Often it acts more like a proxy.
A proxy, meaning it stands for something but isn't the thing itself.
Exactly. A 4-year degree, it signals things like commitment, definitely general knowledge, probably some critical thinking skills, discipline to finish something long. All valuable qualities, no question.
Sure, things employers care about.
Definitely. But it doesn't definitively tell an employer if you're proficient in, say, Python for data analysis, or if you can manage a specific cloud platform like Azure, or if you know how to run a successful Google Ads campaign using the latest best practices.
Right. It's too broad for that level of detail. You might have a comp sci degree, but are you an expert in Kubernetes? The degree itself doesn't say.
Precisely. It's a broad signal, not that granular practical verification of competence needed for many roles today, and that leads right into the second major driver, the sheer pace of change.
Yeah. Things move fast.
Unbelievably fast, especially in tech-driven fields. Think about software development, cybersecurity, AI itself, digital marketing. The specific skills, the tools, the techniques needed, they evolve constantly, sometimes month to month.
So a curriculum set even 2 years ago might already be missing critical pieces.
Absolutely. A multi-year degree program, just by its structure and timeline, inherently struggles to keep up with that velocity. By the time someone graduates, some specific tools they learned might be less relevant, or maybe whole new essential skills have popped up that weren't even on the radar when they started the program.
So the degree is almost always playing catch-up in a way.
Often, yeah. For those very specific cutting-edge skills anyway. And this connects directly to the third big point from the material, the infamous skills gap.
We hear about this all the time.
We do. Employers consistently across many industries report this disconnect. There's a gap between the skills they desperately need right now in their teams and the skills that candidates, including many new graduates, actually walk in the door with.
And micro-credentials, the idea is they target these specific gaps directly.
Exactly. They're designed to be much faster, much more focused tools to address those very specific identified needs with precision and speed, helping bridge that gap more effectively.
Okay, that paints a clear picture of why the shift is happening. So let's move to the solution being proposed. Question 2. What exactly is a micro-credential then? How should we understand that term?
Right. Think of it as a mini qualification, highly focused, bite-sized almost.
Right.
At its heart, a micro-credential is proof, verifiable proof that someone has mastered a specific, often quite narrowly defined skill or competency, and crucially, one that's directly relevant to the workplace.
So not broad knowledge, but a specific capability.
Exactly. It's about demonstrating you can master a particular task, use a specific tool, apply a certain technique, not about completing a wide-ranging program of study.
And the sources emphasize they're usually digital, not just a piece of paper.
Yeah, that's really important. Often they're represented by verifiable digital badges or certificates. The digital format is key. It makes them portable, easy to share online.
Like on LinkedIn or a digital resume?
Precisely. Shareable, but also critically verifiable. The whole point is that they're designed to be focused, flexible, and directly tied to what employers or industries actually need now. They're tangible digital evidence of what you can do.
Okay, tangible digital proof of a specific skill. Got it. That leads nicely into question 3. How does someone get one of these? The sources kept saying AI is the catalyst, the engine here. How does AI help a person actually acquire this skill in the first place? Because you have to learn it before you can prove it.
Right. Learning's obviously step one. And this is where AI-powered learning platforms really come into play. They're often the starting point for earning a micro-credential.
And what makes them different from, say, just watching some videos online?
The personalization aspect is key. These systems aim to move beyond the old one-size-fits-all approach you might find in traditional online courses or even some university classes.
So the AI tailors the learning.
Exactly. It doesn't just throw the same generic content at everyone. First, it often tries to assess your existing skills. What do you already know, or what can you already do related to this topic?
Ah, okay. Like a pretest.
Sort of, yeah. Or analyzing previous work, maybe looking at your profile. It also considers your stated career goals or the specific job role you're aiming for. And then, using its algorithms, the AI applies principles of personalized learning. It recommends, or even directly delivers, a customized curriculum just for you.
Customized how? Like different modules?
Yeah, usually modular. It might pull together specific videos, readings, maybe interactive simulations, coding exercises, practical projects, whatever components are needed for your specific learning journey to master that competency.
So let me see if I get this. Instead of everyone taking the same massive introduction to data science course,
Right.
the AI might look at my profile, see, I already know basic statistics and some Python, and it curates just the specific modules I need on, say, machine learning algorithms and data visualization tools, skipping the basics I already have.
That's precisely the idea. It identifies the most efficient pathway for that specific learner to build the target skill for the micro-credential. It cuts out the redundancy, focuses on the gaps, making the learning hopefully faster, more engaging, and less overwhelming.
Okay, that sounds pretty powerful for the learning part. Very efficient. But then we get to question 4, which feels like maybe the hardest part. Verifying the skill. Proving you can do something practical, like write good code, design something functional, run an effective marketing campaign that seems way harder and more subjective than just a multiple-choice quiz. How does AI manage the assessment part, especially at scale?
You're right. This is arguably where AI makes the most significant leap, enabling something that was very difficult before. Verifying a practical skill, as you said, has to involve performance-based assessment.
Showing, not telling.
Exactly. Showing you can do it, not just recall facts about it. And traditionally, doing that reliably and at scale was tough. It often needed expert human evaluators, which is expensive and time-consuming.
All right, hard to scale up one-on-one assessments.
Very. AI changes the game here by automating sophisticated performance analysis.
Okay, how? What are some concrete examples from the sources?
The material gave some really good ones. Let's take programming. For a micro-credential in, say, secure web development, instead of a theory test, you'd submit actual code you've written for a project.
Right.
An AI system can then analyze that code in incredible depth. It doesn't just check if it compiles and runs, which is basic.
Well,
It evaluates it for correctness against the requirements, for efficiency, does it run well, for adherence to established coding style guides. It can even automatically scan for common security vulnerabilities. That's a much deeper, more robust assessment of actual coding ability than a human could do quickly across thousands of submissions.
Wow. Okay, that is sophisticated. That's far beyond just checking the output.
It really is.
Yeah.
Or take digital marketing. For a credential in, say, social media advertising strategy, the AI might put you in a realistic simulation.
The simulation.
Yeah. You'd set up a mock ad campaign within the platform. You choose the target audience, set the budget, select keywords or visuals, write ad copy. The AI then evaluates your choices based on likely real-world outcomes. Targeting accuracy, budget allocation effectiveness, potential ROI, adherence to platform best practices. It's like a flight simulator, but for marketing.
Okay, so it's directly testing the application of the skill in a job-like context.
Precisely. And one more example from the sources for something visual, like maybe a 3D modeling or technical design credential, computer vision AI could be used.
AI that sees...
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
It could analyze a 3D model file or a technical drawing that the learner created. It would evaluate it against specific design principles, check if it meets the technical specifications, maybe even compare it against industry standards for that type of object.
That's amazing. So this AI assessment capability, it really underpins that shift the sources talked about.
Yeah.
Moving from just certifying what you know in theory to actually verifying what you can do in practice and doing it consistently, objectively, and at scale.
Yeah, at scale seems to be the crucial enabler here. Okay, so the AI can assess practical skills now. Question 5 then. Once the AI gives the green light, says, yep, this person has mastered the skill, they passed the assessment, how does the actual micro-credential, the badge, get issued? And how is it made secure and trustworthy?
Right, so the assessment part triggers the next step. Once that AI assessment engine confirms that the learner has met whatever the predefined standard of mastery is, maybe they successfully completed the simulation or their code passed all the checks.
They hit the benchmark.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That achievement then automatically triggers the issuance of the credential, usually a secure digital badge or certificate.
And these aren't just like a little JPEG image you could fake easily. The sources stress they're more than that. Absolutely not. That's a critical detail. They are not just static image files. They contain rich, structured data embedded within them, metadata.
Metadata like what?
Details about the specific skill that was earned, the name of the organization or institution that issued it, the exact criteria that were used for the assessment, what did you have to do to get this? And often it can even include or link to actual evidence of the learner's work or performance during that assessment.
So if an employer looks at my badge, they can click through and see the criteria, maybe even a snippet of the project I did.
Potentially, yes. It provides much deeper transparency and context than just a name on a certificate. And for the security and trust aspect, the sources mention technologies like blockchain are often used.
Ah, blockchain for verifying credentials.
Yes, storing a record of the credential issuance on a blockchain makes it highly resistant to tampering or forgery. It creates an immutable record, and it makes it really easy for third parties like that potential employer to verify its authenticity quickly and reliably, often with just a click.
Okay, so learn with AI help. Get assessed practically by AI. Receive a secure, verifiable digital badge with rich data. That whole chain makes sense. Now, question 6. This feels really important for the learner. How does AI then close the loop? How does it connect these shiny new credentials to the actual job market? Because getting a badge is nice, but getting a better job or advancing your career is usually the goal, right?
Absolutely. This connection piece is vital for the whole system to deliver real value. And AI plays a key role here too, enabling what the sources called intelligent skill-to-job matching.
Okay, intelligent matching. How does that work for the person who just earned the credential?
So for the learner, these AI platforms can continuously analyze real-time job market data. They're scanning millions of job postings, identifying industry trends, tracking which specific skills are currently in high demand in which sectors and locations.
Wow. Okay.
Then, based on that live market data, combined with the learner's existing profile, their other skills, their past experience, the micro-credentials they've already earned, maybe even their stated career aspirations.
The AI can make recommendations.
Exactly. It can proactively recommend the next specific high-demand micro-credentials that this individual should consider pursuing, maybe to advance in their current field, or perhaps to gather the right skills to successfully pivot into a completely new area they're interested in.
So it's not just random learning, it's strategically guiding you towards skills that are actually valued right now in the jobs you might want.
Precisely. It makes your learning efforts much more targeted and directly relevant to labor market needs. It helps answer the question, what skill should I learn next to help my career?
Okay, that's powerful for the individual. What about for the employers? How does this help them find the right people?
The benefit for employers is huge, too. Think about the traditional hiring process. Recruiters spend ages sifting through resumes, trying to guess someone's real skills based on degree titles, maybe some keywords they listed.
Yeah, keyword searching isn't always reliable.
It really isn't. With this system, recruiters and hiring managers can use AI-powered tools to search for candidates based on specific, verified micro-credentials.
So they can search for someone with a verified badge in advanced data visualization with Tableau, for instance.
Exactly. That drastically improves hiring efficiency. But more importantly, it improves reliability. The micro-credential, because it's linked to that rigorous AI assessment we talked about, serves as trusted, verifiable proof of a specific capability.
So less guesswork for the employer.
Much less. They can have a much higher degree of confidence that a candidate who holds that verified badge actually possesses that specific practical skill. It moves beyond just interpreting self-reported skills on a resume or relying only on the very broad signal of a traditional degree. It's more direct evidence.
Okay, that whole AI-powered loop, personalized learning, practical assessment, secure credentialing, and intelligent job matching it sounds incredibly synergistic. Powerful for both sides, learners and employers. Which brings us neatly to question 7. Let's summarize the main benefits specifically for the individual learners themselves and also for that broader goal of enabling lifelong learning.
Yeah, the benefits for individuals really stand out in the sources. First and foremost, probably, is the sheer flexibility and accessibility.
How so?
Well, learners can pick up these valuable job-relevant skills typically at their own pace, on their own time schedule, and often completely online. This dismantles a lot of the traditional barriers.
Like needing to quit your job to go back to school.
Exactly. Or the huge time commitment, the need to relocate, the often substantial financial burden of a multi-year full-time degree program. Micro-credentials make continuous learning much more feasible for people already working, or those juggling family commitments, or those who simply can't afford traditional routes.
So you don't necessarily have to put your whole life on hold or go deep into debt just to gain a critical new skill for your career.
That's the idea. Democratizing access to skill development. Second big benefit. It's perfectly suited for targeted upskilling and reskilling.
Getting just what you need when you need it.
Precisely. In today's world, where tech and business practices change so fast, professionals constantly need to update their skill set just to stay relevant, let alone advance. This model is ideal for that. Think of an accountant who suddenly needs to understand AI applications in financial auditing.
Right. I don't need a whole new accounting degree.
No, they need that specific module. Or maybe a graphic designer needs to quickly get up to speed on designing for augmented reality interfaces. They can take a focused micro-credential on just that topic. You target the specific skills needed for your next career step without the massive overhead of a whole new degree program.
Very practical. And the third benefit you mentioned earlier was the recognition.
Yes, the tangible and portable recognition. Those verifiable digital badges provide immediate, concrete proof of the skills you've acquired.
Easy to show off.
Well, easy to share and verify. You can easily add them to your LinkedIn profile, embed them in digital resumes or online portfolios. They serve as clear, credible evidence of your capabilities for potential employers, clients, or even internally for promotion opportunities. It makes your skills visible and believable in the digital world.
Okay, great benefits for individuals navigating their careers. Let's flip the coin. Question 8. What about the benefits for the other players in this ecosystem, for employers and for the educational institutions themselves? How does this model help them?
They definitely see significant advantages too, according to the sources. For employers, as we touched upon, it provides a much more direct and efficient way to close critical skills gaps.
Because they can target the exact skills they need.
Yes, and they can even partner to create them. The sources mention examples like tech companies in Canada working directly with colleges or training providers to co-design micro-credentials that are perfectly tailored to the specific, in-demand tech skills they need to hire for right now.
That direct pipeline from education to industry needs sounds incredibly valuable.
It is. It bypasses that long lag time of traditional curriculum development. And as we discussed, it leads to more efficient and reliable hiring. When candidates come with verified micro-credentials, employers have more confidence in their skills. This reduces hiring risks, saves time in the recruitment process, and potentially lowers the costs associated with bad hires or extensive onboarding training.
Makes sense. And can companies use this internally too?
Absolutely. Beyond just external hiring, these AI-powered platforms are very effective tools for internal talent development. Companies can use them to offer targeted upskilling and reskilling programs to their existing workforce. This helps employees grow, boosts retention, and supports internal mobility, filling skill gaps from within.
Okay, clear benefits for employers. What about the traditional educational institutions, the universities and colleges? How does embracing micro-credentials help them? Does it compete with their degrees?
That's a great question. The sources suggest it's less about competition and more about evolution and expansion for them. By offering micro-credentials, these institutions can increase their relevance and agility.
Agility how?
They can respond much faster to shifts in the labor market. Developing a new micro-credential focused on an emerging technology is way quicker than designing and getting approval for an entire new degree program. They can offer these flexible, modular options alongside, or even integrated within, their traditional offerings.
And does it help them reach different students?
Definitely. It significantly expands their potential reach. They can better serve non-traditional student populations, think working adults who need to upskill part-time, career changers looking for a specific entry point, or even corporate clients needing customized training programs for their staff. These are learners who might never enroll in a full-time multi-year degree.
So it opens up new markets for them.
It does. And crucially, the sources talk about this idea of unbundling the traditional degree.
Unbundling, breaking it down.
Yeah. Micro-credentials provide a framework for institutions to break down their larger degree programs into smaller, coherent blocks of learning into stackable micro-credentials.
Stackable meaning?
Meaning a student could earn several related micro-credentials over time, perhaps while working, and these could then potentially be combined or stacked together to count as formal credit towards a full diploma or degree later on.
So it creates more flexible pathways into and out of formal education?
Exactly. It offers learners much greater flexibility, multiple entry and exit points, and allows institutions to structure their offerings in a more modular, adaptable way.
Okay, this whole system sounds quite promising then, addressing needs for learners, employers, and institutions. But, as always, there's the flip side. Question 9 digs into the challenges. For this whole ecosystem to really work, to be trusted and widely adopted, there must be some big hurdles. Based on the sources, what's seen as the single biggest one?
The sources were pretty unanimous on this point. The single biggest challenge is standardization and quality control.
Standardization. Why is that so critical? Isn't issuing a digital badge technically simple?
Issuing the badge itself, technically yes, but the meaning and value behind that badge, That's where the challenge lies. Without common standards, without rigorous quality assurance processes that apply across all the different providers, universities, colleges, private training companies, tech platforms,
There's a risk.
huge risk. The market could get flooded with micro-credentials of wildly varying quality, rigor, and assessment standards. Some might be excellent, based on robust learning and assessment. Others might be, well, less so.
And that would devalue the whole concept.
Absolutely. It would quickly dilute the value of all micro-credentials and completely undermine employer trust. Think about it. An employer needs to be confident that a badge called, say, Advanced Python for Data Science, earned from provider A, signifies a genuinely comparable level of skill and has been assessed just as rigorously as a badge with the same name from provider B, assuming both are reputable.
Right. You need that baseline level of trust that the label actually means something consistent.
Precisely. So achieving that widespread credibility and recognition from both industry and traditional academia really hinges entirely on establishing and enforcing robust quality standards and ensuring transparency about what each credential actually represents. Trust is the currency here.
That makes perfect sense. Quality and trust are paramount. Okay, question 10 raises another potential risk. Is there a downside to the type of learning this model encourages? Because it feels very focused, very specific, very vocational almost.
Yes, that's a valid concern raised in the material. There's a recognized risk of, let's call it, oversimplification or perhaps overspecialization.
Meaning,
While that intense focus on narrow, technical, immediately job-relevant skills is a key strength for meeting current workforce demands. That's the whole point, really.
right.
The potential downside, as some critics or alternative views in the sources point out, is that this focus might come at the expense of developing broader foundational knowledge, and perhaps more importantly, those durable skills, sometimes called soft skills, though I think durable is a better term.
Durable skills,
Yeah.
remind me.
Things like critical thinking, complex problem solving, creativity, ethical reasoning, effective communication, collaboration, adaptability. The skills that aren't tied to one specific tool or technology, but enable you to learn, adapt, and succeed across different roles and over the long term.
The skills that don't become obsolete when the software changes.
Exactly. Those are often nurtured through the broader curriculum, the diverse interactions, the challenging discussions you typically find in more traditional comprehensive degree programs. A micro-credential might teach you how to use a specific data analysis tool very well.
But maybe not the deeper critical thinking to know when to use it, why, or how to interpret the results ethically, or how to adapt when a new tool comes along.
That's the potential imbalance, yes. The concern is creating a workforce that might be highly proficient in today's specific tools, but perhaps lacks the broader, more adaptable cognitive and interpersonal capabilities needed for navigating complex challenges and achieving sustained career growth over decades. Finding that right balance between specific, immediate skills and broad, durable capabilities is crucial.
A really important tension to manage. Okay, question 11 looks at another set of challenges, focusing on equity and the integrity of the system itself. What are the key concerns here, beyond just the quality standards we discussed?
Right, these are also critical. First, equity and access. While the potential for micro-credentials to democratize learning is exciting, opening doors for people who couldn't access a four-year degree, There's a but. There's a real risk that if high-quality, recognized micro-credentials end up being primarily accessible only to those who can afford to pay for continuous training, or those who already have strong digital literacy and reliable access to the necessary technology, then the system could inadvertently create new forms of inequality.
So instead of leveling the playing field, it could just benefit those already advantaged.
That's the danger. It could become a system where only the privileged can afford to continuously stack the credentials needed to stay ahead. Ensuring genuinely equitable access, meaning affordable access to high-quality, industry-recognized programs, is absolutely essential if this model is truly going to broaden opportunity for everyone.
Okay, equity is paramount.
What else? Second is assessment integrity. We talked about how powerful AI assessment is for scaling performance verification, but
can we trust the AI?
Exactly. Those AI-powered assessments must be demonstrably robust, fair, free from bias, and resistant to cheating or gaming the system. If the assessments aren't seen as credible and objective, the credentials they issue won't be either. Concerns about algorithmic bias may be that AI unfairly penalizes certain coding styles or misunderstands certain communication nuances are very real and need careful, ongoing auditing and mitigation. The integrity of the assessment underpins the whole system's credibility.
Makes sense. Trust in the AI judge is crucial. And the third point here.
The third challenge is integration with formal education, making this all work smoothly with the existing world of diplomas and degrees.
That stackability idea we talked about.
Yes, creating clear, transparent, and widely accepted pathways for how these micro-credentials actually integrate with traditional academic programs. Specifically, how and under what conditions they can be formally stacked together to count as recognized credit towards a college diploma or a university degree. That requires a lot of policy work.
Within universities.
Or government level.
Both. It needs collaboration and policy changes within individual institutions, between institutions, and often involving government ministries of education or accreditation bodies. Without these clear pathways, learners might acquire valuable skills through microcredentials, but find they hit a dead end if they later want to pursue a formal degree because their prior learning isn't recognized. Bridging that gap is a significant systemic challenge. Okay, lots to consider there. Quality, balance, equity, integrity, integration, huge challenges. So let's pull it all together. Question 12, our final question for this deep dive. What's the overall significance? Looking at everything we've discussed, what's the big picture takeaway regarding this AI-powered shift towards micro-credentials and lifelong learning?
Well, synthesizing the sources, the picture that emerges is that the shift isn't just some minor trend or niche experiment. It's viewed as a really significant and perhaps a necessary evolution in how we approach education and professional development for the world we live in now.
Necessary why?
Yeah.
Because the old way just isn't cutting it anymore.
Largely, yes. It offers a much more flexible, targeted, and responsive approach that aligns better with the rapid changes and specific skill demands of the modern economy. An economy where increasingly demonstrable, up-to-date skills are becoming the real currency of employability, perhaps even more than pedigree or traditional qualifications alone.
And AI is the key enabler for this new currency.
Absolutely. As we've walked through, AI is fundamentally the engine making this whole model work at scale. It's not just a nice to have, it's what makes this granular, personalized, verifiable approach to lifelong learning actually feasible for millions of people.
Right. Without AI, you couldn't do the personalized paths, the scalable performance assessment, the smart job matching.
Exactly. AI enables each critical stage. It personalizes the learning journey. It allows for robust assessment of practical skills that were incredibly hard to measure widely before. And it intelligently connects those verified skills directly to real-world career opportunities. It makes the whole concept of effective, continuous lifelong learning more accessible, more relevant, and much more tangible for individuals.
But its ultimate success, as we just discussed, really hinges on tackling those challenges head-on.
Without a doubt. The long-term success and impact of this whole ecosystem depend entirely on a collective effort. Educators, employers, tech providers, policymakers, everyone needs to work together to build that solid foundation of trust. It means establishing those clear, widely accepted standards for quality, ensuring rigorous assessment integrity, finding that right balance between teaching specific technical skills and cultivating those crucial, durable skills, and, critically, guaranteeing equitable access so that everyone has the opportunity to benefit, not just a select few. The sources suggest that getting this right is seen, in places like Canada's tech sector, for example, as a vital strategy for building a future-ready, adaptable, and competitive workforce.
So just to be clear, the message isn't that the traditional university degree is dead.
No, not at all. As of today, June 7th, 2025, the degree certainly isn't obsolete. Its role is evolving, though. It's being complemented, augmented, and in some ways, as we said, unbundled by these more agile, more focused, skill-specific credentials.
So it's becoming part of a broader ecosystem of learning credentials.
That seems to be the direction. And AI is providing the essential tools to build and operate this new, more dynamic educational framework. It's a framework that fundamentally values what you can do just as much, if not more in some contexts, than just what you know abstractly. It's a framework designed to actively support continuous adaptation throughout a long career. And ultimately, the goal is to empower every single individual to remain a relevant, skilled, and engaged learner in a world that just keeps changing.
Wow. That's a really powerful summary. Shifting the focus to demonstrable capability, continuous adaptation, all enabled by AI. It really paints a picture of a future where learning never stops, and proving what you can do is key.
It really does elevate verifiable competence.
Okay, so the final provocative thought for you, our listener, drawing directly from the insights in the source material we've explored today. This emerging framework values what you can do as much as what you know. It supports continuous adaptation, and it aims to empower every individual to stay relevant and engaged in a world of constant flux. So, the question to ponder is, what specific skill are you curious about developing next?
Yeah, that's a great question to leave people with. What's next on your personal learning agenda?
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the fascinating intersection of AI, micro-credentials, and the future of lifelong learning.
It's been a great discussion. And if you want to stay informed on similar topics and continue exploring how technology and AI are reshaping our world, we'd love for you to subscribe to our channel, Tech, AI, and Beyond.
Definitely hit that subscribe button. We'll see you on the next deep dive.